We've come together today for the gathering. All are welcome here.
We are so glad that you've decided to pull up your seat to this table. And while we wish we could be together in person, we really do, and have hopes that sometimes in the future we will, Amy and I wanted even more to create a setting where all could find a place to be at ease, all could be embraced, and all belong.
We invite you to step into creative space. By lighting a candle, we silence the noise and interruptions of the everyday, and we step into a place of illumination and discovery. So if you have a candle, let's light it and begin.
Light a little candle, let the dark disappear. See the potential within the dancing sphere. Light a little candle, let the little glow. Ignite your little hopes that in the spring will grow.
This is from a traditional Candlemas blessing. At the beginning of February, when the infant light of spring is greeted thankfully by the hoary winter earth, it seems fitting we should light a candle and celebrate a festival for the growing light, the emerging spring, and all that is stirring deep within.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the gathering. My name is Bethany Camp, and I am joining you from a mile high up in the mountains of Flagstaff, Arizona, where I am a creative coach. I started a business called Cobalt Studios. I'm also a therapist and joining you from the light of day, while Amy is joining us from the dark of night.
Hi, I'm Amy Zimmer. I am in Boundless Studios here in Dusseldorf, Germany, where, yes, as you can see, it is dark out. So if you are joining on this side of the ocean, welcome to the evening, and hello to those who are still in daytime.
Absolutely. Hello and welcome. There's a slide at the end of this that has a little bit more information about us. And so if you want to work more with us, you are welcome to do that and go into the deepening part of today.
And we'd love for you in the meantime to comment, to email us or put it in the comments of this video so that we can know who's here and where you're coming from.
So we're going to jump over into getting started and create something together, into the making, having busy hands. And Amy's going to be showing how she's creating. And I'm going to let her introduce a little bit about what we're going to be working on today as we open up into the discovery and creation part of today.
Yeah, hi. So I'm not going to tell you a lot yet about what we're doing because I have found that sometimes the not knowing, sometimes the being surprised can create surprising results, not only in what we make, but in ourselves. And you'll learn more about this as you spend time with me and Bethany, but we both are certified in a form of coaching called creative depth coaching. And it's about discovering kind of the depths of who we are, which are so often hidden, especially hidden by the noise and the busyness of our lives. And so I have found that it can be helpful to bypass some of that noise, especially of brains, if you have one like mine that's always saying, no, that's not right, you need to fix that, you know. And so not always knowing can help us just kind of settle into the doing.
And surrender, to the
Mhm.
process.
So I wanted us to just begin by some doing. I will explain a little bit in just a little while what that is going to become. But right now it's kind of busy work for our hands. And so I invite you to trust the process. There's going to be a lot of those invitations along the way. So why not start at the beginning? But if trusting the process is hard for you, if it's triggering some uncomfortable feelings, then you are in luck because we are recorded today. And so you can press pause, skip to the end, see what we're going to do, and then come back and join us. And that is not a problem because our main goal here is that you feel welcome, that you feel at ease, that you feel that this is a space where you can breathe and be, and if something is getting in the way of that, then let's get it out. So today I've asked you to gather a few supplies, 8 to 10 magazine pages, all about the same size. In the supplies list, I gave you some guidelines for how to find it, but if you weren't able to do that, that is no problem. We are not going to be using very much of this page visibly. So you might go for just a color. You might go for a texture or a pattern. You might go for a word. Just know you're not going to see all of it. Bethany, what was your approach in looking for your images?
I wanted to feel the energy from the pages and put that into it. And so I picked actually magazines from January, February to get some of the broodiness and the tension of opposites and light and dark in this season. And then I also picked just some flowers because I love celebrating love and Valentine's Day and self-love. And I'm also just putting that energy of what's blooming or what's about to bloom into this today. So that was part of my selection of stuff.
That's really fun. I've done a number of these projects, kind of getting ready for today. And the first time I did more like Bethany. I went with a real intuition of what the page held in it. And it was cool. And the next time I thought, what if I just went with a color, with a feeling of a color? And I was drawn to a lot of reds and deep, rich colors. So and the results were very interesting. So go with your gut. We're going to say that a lot here. Go with your intuition. Part of the noise that is constantly feeding in our brains, through our phones, through our work, through just the constant movement of our lives, it drowns out a lot of our ability to hear our own center, to hear where the truth of who we are lies. And so we encourage you, listen to that voice.
Yeah.
And some of the way we do that is in kind of a quiet, contemplative, meditative kind of work. And so I'm going to switch screens so you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. Yeah, so here's my magazine page. They're all the same height. That is very important. If yours are not the same height, just stack them together and cut the ones that are too long so that they're all the same height. Fold it in half as evenly as you can and crease that center fold really sharp.
I'm using a pen to kind of solidify those seams too, just running it along. I don't
Yeah,
know if you would suggest that, Aim, but
I would. You can use a bone folding tool if you already work with lots of paper crafts or paper art. You can use something that's just smooth. Like I have this toothpick holder because I use toothpicks a lot in here, and you can just use that to run it along your edges and help you create that crease. Just make sure it's not something that's going to tear your paper. And then you're going to tear it. If you creased it really sharp, it should tear easily. This is actually a perfect cut edge. Will not even matter, I promise you. So if you're a little OCD, if you get worked up about things not being perfect, I would recommend you take a breath and just keep going.
Lean
Okay.
in.
Yeah. So you'll tear them all in half. So instead of 8 to 10 pages, you'll now have 16 to 20. We may not use all of them. So if you don't get through all of them, that is no problem. You take the one you have. So this is 1/2 of 1 page. And now we're just going to fold it. You're going to fold it in half as straight as you can, because the main thing about this is you want the ends here to not be all sticking out. But if they are, again, kein Stress, as we say here in Germany, no worries, no stress. We can just trim it up or we can leave it. It's really okay. The thing about the art we're doing here is I'm an artist. Bethany is an artist. We love making art. We love doing crafts. We love just being silly with art. Um, I love being perfect with art, but that's not what today is for.
No.
Today is not about taking something home to hang on your wall. You might, and I hope you like what you make, but today is about discovering yourself,
Mhm.
the process of
Discovering,
that.
yeah, and discovering your likes and dislikes
Yeah,
and where was
yeah,
there tension or no tension. Pay attention to yourself in this process. If
yeah.
something is really ugh to you, honor that. Great.
Hmm.
If you want it
And
perfectly perfect, be that. For others, nah, that's not your thing.
yeah, and it's not about um, perfect. It's not about product. It is about the process. It
Yeah,
is about the journey of what emerges from the depths of us while we are making. So
love it.
we
Love
folded it
it.
in half. You can keep folding from here. We're going to fold it down till it's about 1/4 of an inch wide, maybe 1/3 of an inch. But I found it's helpful to glue it as you go. So I'm just taking glue stick along the edge and
Good.
kind of
And I
sticking
forgot.
that down before I fold it again. So I've done it now half again, and I'll do it one more time. And you can glue every step of the way or just a couple times as you go. Now it does get a little bit trickier. Just crease those seams really good and it will not be a problem. So just gonna glue that one more time. So then
Good.
you're left with a strip like this. There you go. That's about the size you want. So then you're just gonna fold all of them as as we as we chat. And we need a minimum of 12 of these paper reeds, as we'll call them.
Beautiful. Feel free to turn on music at home or in your space that you're in right now if you'd like to do that.
So just like we're doing now, this is actually an old tradition that is still done to this day. Not going to tell you what it is quite yet. Um, and the point of it was to gather and to celebrate this creation together with others, to tell stories, um, but also to kind of let your body get into this almost meditative, quiet trance. Not even a trance, just a quiet place in your mind where just the noise and cares of the world um, just
Get
kind of
emptied,
disappear. Hmm.
get released.
Yeah.
Some people bake, some people cook. I like to do this.
Hmm.
I guess baking's good too.
I also like to cut out teeny tiny words from magazines. Sometimes I use them in my work, but sometimes I just like the cutting of very, very small things. But you also learn about like which magazines have paper that feels good to you, and which ones feel
Yeah,
less good.
like a high
Um,
gloss or a matte.
yeah, I know
Yeah.
the gloss is not great for the environment, but it is so fun to work with. So that's why your local thrift store or your neighbor's recycling bin
Mhm.
or the library's recycling bin are good places to head when you are out of print material.
I
Uh,
found stuff like community magazines. So wherever you live, sometimes it's easier to have a limited amount of images to choose from, and you have to work with what you're given or work with what you have. You can see the books behind me, magazines. I'm quite the collector, but sometimes it's easier to just say, I'm going to use this piece and
mhm,
go with that intuition too.
yeah, absolutely. So while you guys are folding, I'm going to begin telling you a little bit about what we're doing today. So I ask you to just listen, to be open. You've come here not really knowing what we're doing, not knowing really who we are, um, or what to expect. So I hope in the spirit of that, you just continue to trust this process. Um, and we didn't say it at the top, but we we endeavor to honor the trust that you're giving us and make this a safe space, a fun place, a warm and welcoming place. So, in that spirit, um, just like the others that we talked about who are getting together on this day that Bethany and I are recording, the 1st of February, to busy their hands and spin their tails. The gathering is about opening the stories of our lives and what they are telling. It's about how, as the pages of the year turn, we are building the story of ourselves and watching how the different aspects of our own stories unfold. And the gathering is about sharing these stories here with each other because our stories connect us, all of our stories. The individual ones we have lived every single day of our lives and have opened up to friends and loved ones who have then passed some of our stories along. The imagined and dreamed up and created stories written down, drawn or composed or choreographed in order to bravely share, and the believed stories, those ones held in the very core of our beings that we consider inspired, gifted, bestowed, if you will, by something beyond us, something infinite, something divine. All of these stories, all of our stories, are being told from one person to the next in wider and wider circles, tying us to one another through this net of tales. And when we pull together all the yarns from the whole human family, when they're untangled, stretched out, even separated from their original specificity of meaning and significance, they become these threads woven through our shared existence, coming together as the tapestry depicting the human story. Laced throughout these grand this grand shared story are these recurring characters, people you recognize, faces you've seen before but can't quite place, that keep showing up. Maybe you saw them in a beloved book or in a sacred text. Perhaps they walked across a stage or sat in the foreground of a painting. Sometimes they're real people whose lives have unfolded as they take on a legend quality, while others emerge as fiction from our imaginings, yet become so integrated into our lives that they become real. Once we know them, we begin to recognize them everywhere. Even if settings and circumstances, characteristics and clothing, language, or location change, they remain nevertheless constant. With each retelling, they cross boundaries between the real and imagined, the mythical and fictional, the human, created and divine inspired. With each retelling, they take on greater significance to become archetypes. You may have heard the word. It's a big word in psychology. But what it really means is that these are fellow travelers, friends who join us on our shared human journey. As they walk through life with us, they become our companions, sharing about where they've come from and who they've become along the way, offering the wisdom of their experiences. Through this unfolding of their stories, like the shimmer of gold-leafed pages, we catch glimpses of something universal in them, some infinite quality about them, some limitless potential. And after walking the road together, we begin to see beyond their tales to what we have in common, to what we share. We begin to see ourselves in them, to see our stories in their stories. And we begin to recognize the infinite potential that we too possess. Because in sharing our stories, we build resiliency. We develop connection with one another, with our own souls.
We've decided to invite someone into our circle in the sharing, in the seeing our stories in one another, in the gathering. Today we invite her. We want you to get to know her. We want you to hear her story. And we hope that as our friend joins us at the gathering today, you will listen and let her life speak to you. Because as Amy was speaking about, in sharing our stories, we build resiliency. We develop connection with one another. We develop connection with our own souls through stories and storytelling. We hope that as our friend joins us in the gathering today, you will listen to her and you will let her speak to you. We hope that you will be curious about her story. And even more, we hope that you let it help you be curious about the other stories still untold in our circle. Those stories that we have yet to tell each other, those stories that we have yet to tell ourselves.
Yeah, and finally to our friend. She is a fiery soul. She's fierce and undaunted, but with the biggest, warmest, most open heart you've ever known. Everyone gets welcome to sit at her hearth. Somebody's, nobody's, fur bodies, loves herself some animals, this one.
Yes.
And she's always ready to open her heart, her home, to whomever. And we wanted her to join us today on this day when Bethany and I are recording, because this is a special day for her. A day when people around the world honor who she is to them.
Rightfully so. It seems particularly apt that on this day, halfway between winter's dark beginning and the dawn of spring, we celebrate the one who brings light to dark places, who shares vision out of her own enthusiasm that others see the beauty she sees, who welcomes all of the exuberant and complicated colors woven throughout our lives to unfold and reveal their exquisite truth. Today, we visit Bridget. The screams from the
Ta-da!
crowd. Bridget, for some a saint, for others a goddess, and for many others a daughter, a sister, a friend. Whichever version of her shows up in your story, she is Bridget, the bright one, the bringer of light, a giver of sight, a stirrer of the flame.
And in honor of her day, the first thing that we are going to be making today is the traditional Celtic symbol called Bridget's Cross. So
Yay!
we are going to get to that here. I'll show you.